Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Hi, folks, and welcome to the Political Matrix News. I'm Scott Miller. This is my partner, Greg Fink. We've been inside in the back rooms and backstage of political campaigns for the last 30 years, and we're here to give you our perspective on today's issues and today's news stories.
Exactly.
Yeah, Greg. I mean, it's very different when we have a different view of how these stories are born and then how they evolve, because they're all about tribalism and getting people to be on the right team, and
it's all about teamwork, man. Everybody gets a trophy.
Yes, they're all about teamwork. It's the wrong kind of teamwork, though. We're supposed to be working together just a little bit.
But if you work together a little bit, then you defeat the entire reason and the entire narrative that we've been talking about the last 235 episodes here of fundraising.
Yeah,
which,
it certainly makes it hard. If there's no bad guy, it's certainly hard to fundraise.
And in full disclosure, I'm a fundraiser. You're a fundraiser. I mean, however, we're not dishonest fundraisers. We're actually, pretty honest. And, unfortunately, some of the clients that we worked with are not the best fundraising targets in the world, but, we actually work with honest people, which, in the most fundraising world, most of the money is being raised by deception. And that's just a eerie little secret here that people don't realize. I mean,
for me, the acid test is simply that if you look at two groups of people who could work together but are simply refusing not to,
right?
It's not because they're unable to. It's not even because they don't like each other. It's because they make way more money when we're fighting. When the people when the Americans and the people out in the community are fighting,
exactly.
They make more money.
Yeah, and the whole idea here about politics is it used to be. I mean, we're about to hit our 250th anniversary here.
Anniversary
of America.
Episode anniversary.
No,
or something.
I'm talking about American anniversary.
Yes,
250 years. Next year will be 250 years. Right now we're 249 years. And back then, the whole idea of government was public service and public, serving us, the taxpayers, primarily defending and protecting our country. And now it has turned into nothing but a huge shell game of who can get who or who can do what. And it is a mess between the Epstein issues and the Epstein files and people who are worried about who got killed in a bombing attack of narco-terrorists in Venezuela and all the military armament that we are building up in the seas of the Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico, whatever you want to call it, down there in the Caribbean with the Venezuela. And people have just lost their way, in my opinion.
It's just hard for me not to laugh about that. After Barack Obama bombed a school, he bombed the home of a terrorist that had a whole bunch of civilians living right next door, dozens of people, murdered every one of them. But that was their hard luck for being next to a thing. The actual funniest thing to me is watching these Democrats defend these drug traffickers. They're not like secretive boats. They're open hull boats. You can clearly see the drugs sitting right on top of them. And they have intelligence on the ground that are watching these boats be loaded. They know what's being loaded into them, and they're reporting that to the United States Intelligence Service that this boat's leaving and it's got this and it's heading this direction. They pick it up on radar and they just follow it. They know what's on those boats.
Exactly. And the huge irony here is that the Democrats are okay with protecting that, while at the same time they are very okay with George Soros and the entire fundraising group of George and his son and all those guys funding all the DAs all across the country to let all the criminals free and to go ahead and lessen charges on criminals where people are like in D.C. or in Chicago or in L.A. or all these big urban cities should be charged with much more severe crimes. However, the DAs are being so well funded by the Democrat and Socialist Party, and so they're being funded for the reason of lessening the crimes and lessening the charges and basically allowing our streets to run wildly dangerous, while at the same time they're very upset with us going after the terrorists who are bringing the drugs over, who are being given or sold to those people who are making our streets wildly dangerous. And so, I mean, is the Democrat Party just that stuck on making America violent and unsafe, or am I just missing something here?
You see that's for me, characterizing things like that, like characterizing these really kind of dark agendas, uh, uh, plays into this fundraising scam. Because number one, that the people that agree with you say yeah, and the people that don't agree with you say, oh, he's just saying that.
Yeah, but
But there's
what's the difference though?
no, it's not. It's not.
I'm,
I mean,
I'm asking you though. I mean, how do you describe that without it being dark?
well, it is dark, but it's like it's like the conspiracy theories. Like there's people sitting down saying, "Hey, we're going to secretly increase the crime level, but we're going to tell everyone we're reducing it." That's not that. I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like to people when you try to explain these conspiracies to them. But the reality is that it's not that they're trying to increase the crime level; it's that they don't care what the crime level is.
And that's exactly the point, is that, I mean, just not caring, the whole apathy about people being safe and worrying about the human rights and civil rights of illegal aliens and people who are here, doing the wrong thing. Seems to be more important than the rights of the American citizens. It's kind of like the USDA today saying that they were going to, and by the way, what's the day today? December 3rd. And so the USDA person, I guess yesterday, they had their big cabinet meeting in DC on December 2nd. And the USDA person said they're going to stop SNAP benefits for all the blue states until they give up their records.
Oh, well, no, there you go.
And
Yeah.
until they comply with how many illegals are getting benefits. I mean, so far, the 29 red states gave all their records up, and they found, I think so far, almost 500,000 people who are illegal, and nearly 200,000 or 186,000 who are dead, and numerous people who are in 4 or 5 different states getting food stamps or SNAP benefits. And the Democrat Party hasn't even released their stuff yet. We have no idea how many Somalians or illegals or, anybody in Minnesota or California or New York. Nobody, I mean, if you take a look at that, you're looking at probably nearly 40% of the entire roll of food stamps being illegal.
Well, what I don't understand is why there's not a time limit set on these SNAP benefits to not that you can renew them. I mean, there is a time limit where you have to renew them periodically.
Every year.
What I'm saying is you should be able to collect them for no more than 5 years without having to completely reapply like you've never had them before and completely re-justify your situation.
Well, in Florida, you have to reapply every year. It's an annual reapplication because it's based off your income, and it's based off your status and everything else. And so if you're an illegal citizen the entire time, you become illegal, hey, cool, you might qualify. But the thing is, I mean, there's an annual update in most of these states, and the fact that people are lying on their paperwork, I mean, let's just not even look at the whole SNAP benefits here. We're looking at fraud at a high level, and
the really mysterious thing is why it's not a requirement that that every single recipient, as they're being awarded their benefits, that all of their information has to go to Washington. Now, I get
Exactly.
the state writes the check, but the state, in order to write the check, should have to, with every single check, send a data file up to Washington that says that this person and this account number got this stuff, and these are all of his things. Because for all we know, there are people in numerous states getting these benefits.
I mean, and you and I are both really big on states' rights. We get that. And I have no trouble with states' rights. However, the fact is that the money does not come from the state. Now,
That's right.
if the state wants to fund it themselves and tell the federal government to go blow off, then
Absolutely.
fine. They can keep all their data private and tell the government to go blow it, and that's fine. However, if they're asking for money from the federal government, they need to comply with the regulations that the federal government is asking them to do. And there is a chain of command. There's a chain of basically chain of custody here, financially here, through the SNAP benefits or Medicaid benefits or healthcare benefits or anything that the federal government is paying the states to help pay for or refund or fund for these citizens, and that is not happening. And needs to.
Absolutely.
And you have,
I mean, if the federal government should know the name and all of the information, the birthday, the address, everything of every single recipient, because literally, truly, what's to stop them from getting a driver's license over here or a state ID in one state and a state ID in another state, getting their benefits and
Right.
collecting the same benefits from two different jurisdictions.
And that's exactly the reason why we have to have legal immigration. If people don't understand the nuts and bolts of life, the numbers of life, everything works with everything annotated. You cannot work in this vacuum here of funding people who you do not even know exist, and then they come. It's kind of like having a Thanksgiving party. We just had Thanksgiving or Christmas. You only have 8 people on the invitation list, right? But 25 people show up. So what are you going to do with the food for 25 people and only you're only planning on 8? And that same concept is here on a very global level with the healthcare and the food stamps and everything that the Democrats seem to want to give away to. They think we have a blank check. I guess they think America's just rolling in gold. Those days are over, guys. We're not.
Again, it's not a nefarious kind of plan. It's apathy. They don't care as long as I'm getting paid. You just cut off everyone else. Just make sure I get paid. And that's all they care about.
Exactly. I mean, I kind of think maybe some of the people here might be slightly nefarious, especially when we were doing some research earlier today on the DSA, which is the Democrat Socialists of America. And basically, they're just using the Democrat Party as a platform to launch their own agenda. They don't give a damn about the Democrat critique or Democrat
they have nothing but contempt for the Democrat Party.
Exactly. They're going after the Democrat leaders like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, and Nancy Pelosi and all the people here who are the leaders of the old school Democrat Party. I mean, if it was Tip O'Neill and all those guys from Charlie Wilson and all the guys from the 80s and and 90 Democrats, or who was that? Richard Gephardt, and Tom Daschle. Well, sure, I was a Republican, but Tom Daschle, Tom Daschle and everything. I mean, those Democrats would not even be seen anywhere near the leadership nowadays. And the whole idea here is that the DSA, led by Alexandria, or whatever her name is, Ocasio-Cortez, and
AOC.
Omar, and Congresswoman Omar, and Minnesota, and all these other people in the woke movement here who are pushing everything to such a degree, they don't even give a damn about the Democrat Party. And it's being led by Bernie Sanders, who's, by the way, registered independent, not a Democrat. And it's kind of ironic that the independent here is leading the DSA. And it's just so much BS on that side.
Well, I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, the whole bunch are a bunch of liars to begin with. Democrats, Republicans, a whole lot of them. But the Democrats have just raised it to an incredible art form. At least
the Republicans lying.
Well, I don't know. I've seen them not so much lie as much as just distort the truth, pull on the wrong thing. Because as a Republican, if you lie and your people catch you, even lying about something that benefits them, then they stop listening to you.
Yeah. The Republican Party has a very short attention span when it comes to lying. They're not gonna, they're gonna hang it pretty quick. Democrats seem to live off of it.
You got to be convincing. You got to convince them that what you're saying is absolutely true.
Because the tenets of the Republican Party are small government and government staying out of your business. Now, granted, with the religious right and the Christian Coalition and other people getting involved in the social side, that's debatable. I mean, granted, I'm a social conservative. However, I am libertarian slightly on a lot of social issues. That being said, majority of Republicans are kind of lockstep and getting government out of the way, period, in almost every single area. Except for, in my opinion, marijuana. I think, you and I both are not supportive of recreational marijuana because I don't think really people understand all the pitfalls and everything else, or are really looking at it thoroughly about what all the things that can happen if you do that. But, that's because people just don't think.
Well, I just think it's a medication. I think it's good as a medication.
I agree.
And that it needs to be kind of monitored as a medication because coca leaves are kind of useful as a medication too, but I wouldn't put them out and let people grow big fields of them here.
No, exactly. And that should be controlled by the states, not federalized. Marijuana should be a state issue. Now, granted, I do think that they should declassify it on the federal side and with the FDA and make it non-illegal narcotic or anything, or class 1 drug or whatever it is now. I do think they should scale that back some.
I think you're talking about rescheduling it.
They're rescheduling it, exactly.
From a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 4.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, they should do that. But at the same time, let the states control whether or not how much is grown in people's yards, or if it's sold at all, or if it's not done. But let it should all be controlled by each and every state.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And the one thing that you did hit upon, I don't know. I wouldn't be that bad. On one hand, from a personal freedom standpoint, people growing their own and just like on a very limited scale, like a couple of plants worth.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, that'd be the farthest I'd go, though.
Yeah, but I agree with you, because most human nature is that, whenever they run out, they're going to sell it.
Or when they need a
people
couple of
want to sell
bucks.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, or
they need a couple of bucks. Oh, they're gonna sell it to the guy down the street. Well,
yeah, I got a couple of extra plants. Let's just go ahead and roll it up and sell it. Then you're
yeah,
turning it into trafficking, and then that's a whole different thing. And that's
it is a
not really
slippery slope for sure.
It is. It's definitely a slippery slope. And that's the reason why, I think we talked about this before, in states that have just one or two urban centers, like, the Midwest or Alabama or Georgia, it might be a lot easier to control. But places like Florida, we're like the Wild West over here already. We have a lot of urban sprawl all throughout Florida already, and our law enforcement has their hands full already. And so trying to keep that in check would be very tough.
Well, hold difficulty. The least impactful argument with me is it's going to be hard on law enforcement, because it's supposed to be hard on law enforcement. We're supposed to be able to,
that's true.
If you make the way that you make things really, really easy for law enforcement is to eliminate all your rights. then law enforcement can come in and arrest people right out, no problem. So the fact that it's difficult for law enforcement is not something I'm sympathetic to.
I get it.
I agree. I really appreciate the work that law enforcement does, and I want them to be able to do their job, but I don't want them to be able to do their job in a way that makes our rights suffer. And occasionally some bad dudes get off, but it's better that the bad dudes get off, that a couple of bad dudes get off, than any innocent people go to jail.
I agree with that. And because we do have a lot of those who are still in jail who,
like January 6th.
But yes, that was definitely a mess.
Yeah, and I heard today that a judge, they just are ordering some kind of refunds or some kind of money to go back to those guys.
They should.
And they should. I mean, they should.
Definitely should.
Every single person who was arrested for January 6th. Well, I'm not going to say every single one, because you'd have to really deal with it on a case by case basis, because there may have been some people who unfortunately, got caught up in the moment and did the wrong things.
Right.
But overwhelmingly, there are people that did nothing more than mill around, sometimes outside the doorway to the Capitol without ever going in.
Right.
That went and spent years in jail.
Exactly. And the same people who were wanting the National Guard in D.C. then, not so happy about the National Guard being there now. And so, it's just, the whole double standard. It's like what they say, there were no standards, or, Democrats would have no standards at all. So, no, if it wasn't for double standards, Democrats would have no standards at all. And so it seems to be very dangerous with that. And we recently had this shooting here, the two national, and since we recorded the last show, the other National Guard member has died. And so now that person is being charged now with murder and assault on the second person. And people are still defending.
I know. That is the most bizarro part of the world we're living in right now, is the way that people are stepping up to defend obvious criminals. I mean, not like just, maybe there was a misunderstanding or something like that. Maybe the cops manufactured.
They were targeted.
No, these people are obvious criminals, and the Democrats are just backing them up, because that's how desperate they are. To try, they've got to get some kind of issue, got to get something going, and they're not getting anything going.
And they're saying that this National Guard member, she was complaining about even being there, and that she didn't have a choice to be there. I'm like, she's in the military. That's correct. She did not have a choice. She wasn't drafted. She joined the military voluntarily, and she was deployed and sent to where they told her to go. That is the way it works. That is how the military works. And National Guard is part of the military. and they're keeping the streets of DC safe. I'm lost.
Apparently that they're needed there, or people wouldn't be shooting at them now, would they?
Oh, no, no. Like in Chicago, when they yanked out the National Guard,
Yeah.
shootings are on the rise again. Killings are on the rise again. I mean, and they seem to be happy with that. They seem to be okay. The mayor of New York, or of Chicago, seems to be more angry at the National Guard and at Trump misusing his authority than he is about the people shooting other kids on the streets of Chicago.
It's her belief that Trump is exceeding his authority. He is absolutely not. The fact that she's not using her authority is the reason Trump has to come in and use his.
Yeah, and the governor of Illinois, I guess, is going to be a Democrat front runner. I forgot his name. It's not important to me enough.
JB Preacher.
Yeah, JD. Looks like
JP.
JD Hogg. What J? He looks like JD Hogg. Anyway, looks like the guy from Dukes of Hazzard. And so, I'm just kidding, like Sorrel Book, but he has hair, so I mean, he at least has that. But my point is that his whole wokeism, his whole idea here of anti law enforcement, anti protection of his own people. I have no idea how that is even a starting conversation.
How do you get elected?
Presidential.
I mean, how do you convince people that you're the guy that's going to take care of them on anything when you won't take care of them on the fundamental part of your job?
The only part of government is safety. I know the only part of government is safety, and I'm not a big DeSantis fan, but I will say this: Florida's safe, and he's in a good job. Granted, he's a little overhanded on some things, and people have their own opinions on his behavior, on how he handles the governing, and the fact that he's inserting his wife now to create a wonderful dynasty. And if that really happens, that'll be horrifying. But
I'm not saying he's not going to try. I'm just telling you it ain't going to happen.
But that being said, Florida is very safe compared to these other states. I mean, we take care of crime very well here in this state. Period.
We've just had candidates that have been tossed out of office for so much less. Yeah. I mean, just not repairing a bridge on time over a two-lane road in an area that that has hardly any traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, getting tossed out of office for things like that, and all you can do is shake your head at how effective those community members are in raising such a trivial issue.
Yeah. Well, at the same time, they have other leaders, basically allow the cops to just not do anything, or allow criminals to go free, or on the flip side, they have cops who are being abusive in some areas, where we had some deputies who are tasing people in the face, which I always thought that was a funny one. We're tasing them in the shower while they're tied to a shower chair. That was actually, that was a really quirky one. But, and so, I mean, it goes both sides. It goes both ways. And it's in both parties, actually. It's Republicans and local government and Democrats and local government. I mean, there's bad apples. And that's just the reality here in both parties. And the sad part is that whenever community leaders want to enforce the rule of law and try keep reelecting these individuals who are hurting the community standards, like the guy in Illinois, or like some of the local races we've seen in Florida, you and I both worked on, we're not going to name, or, like Governor Newsom in California, how, he made these decisions to not do water during a big fire time and not allow access to water and everything because of environmental reasons or ecological reasons. I mean, the whole idea that these guys keep getting reelected for the public trust whenever they don't have the public trust in their own mind is beyond me.
It is hilarious. You watch these Democrats, rip off the public for years, and then a Republican gets elected, and then the Democrats make sure that he gets that he gets burned for corruption, and the reason they're able to do it is because they know what he's doing that is corrupt, because they invented it. It's what they were doing. He adopts their methodology, and they say, "Oh well, we know how this game is played, and we know where the evidence is. It's right here."
Exactly.
And they burn him every time.
Yeah, let's circle back to the bombing thing in Venezuela. We haven't really touched on that in detail. What happened, I guess, was Hicksmith had ordered that bombing of those ships in September. They're trying to say that some guys who were jumped over the boat were swimming in the water, and he told them to go back and kill everybody. He didn't. The admiral did it on his own, because the whole idea here is that everybody is, enemy of the state, and whenever you destroy a ship, you're not out there rescuing the enemy. That's just not how it works.
No, you're there to destroy the ship because they hit the ship again because the ship didn't sink.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the guys in the water. It was hit the ship. And Pete Hegseth was not even in the room when the second one went down. He was down at his next meeting, and I think he might have seen the first one go off, but then he left the admiral in charge and went to go about his business. And the admiral made the choice to do that, to sink the ship as he was directed.
So I guess the family members of one of the people on the ship are saying that he was a fisherman. That was the reason why he was on the ship. So they're filing international human rights charges against the administration for, I guess, killing their family member who was a fisherman.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I was like, good luck with that. Seriously.
I mean, I'm quite sure that Manuel Noriega was quite the fisherman too, but that doesn't mean he wasn't transporting narcotics across into America like it was a prize for doing it. Oh wait, there was a prize. It was kind of a big pile of money.
It was, which is an example. Well, you just said, "Oh, this is not the first time we have done this. This is actually just the latest time we have done this." I mean,
Nicolas Maduro is an indicted co-conspirator on this stuff under the Biden administration. He was indicted, and the thing is that these people, don't understand that what he does, what he has done. I have employees that are from Venezuela. They tell me everything that he's done over there, and they confirm that he's been in business with the narcos for a long time. And what he does is he is their money launderer because he has access to international funds, or he did until we started cracking down.
Shore that up, yeah.
But he's a money launderer, and he enables the trafficking. It's plain as day, and I don't know why people would even want to pretend that it's not.
I have no idea what I mean. I do understand the irony here with Trump, I guess, pardoning the Honduran drug trafficking president. Who I'm a little confused on that one. I haven't really done much research on that. We probably will by the next show, but I think it's interesting that he pardoned him. I guess 2 days ago.
Yes, I saw that, and I don't know what the story is there. I don't know how that guy even has relevance, to be perfectly honest.
No.
But here's my theory for what my theory is worth, and that's that Trump is a deal maker, and that he has some kind of a deal, going on down there that I'll do this and I'll do this, and we get rid of Maduro, and then this is how we're going to run Latin America. And
right.
I think he's really kind of, trying to turn the Organization of American States into a legitimate body.
I agree. I mean, it's kind of like he also, for all his partisanship, he pardoned a former Democrat congressman a couple of days ago in Texas as well. So, I mean, that's the whole thing is all this hate on Trump and all this vitriol and all this BS that they're spewing out there only for fundraising talking points, pretty much. That's really about it. I mean, it's just so transparent here that the DSA and the progressive wing, the Democrat Party that doesn't even want to be in that party, is more or less just using it as a financial platform to launch their own agenda.
Right. I mean, just think about how much money they made off of these. During like the shutdown. It was all over healthcare, and it is mind-boggling to me to watch Chuck Schumer get in front of a microphone and blame the Republicans for the failures of Obamacare when it was their idea. Healthcare is so expensive and it's Donald Trump's fault. Well, nothing spiked the cost of healthcare like Obamacare did. I mean, back in the day, you could kind of tailor your health insurance policy so that as a man, I didn't have to pay for birth control pills.
Now, granted, I think the cost of living has increased since 2010, but it has not increased 300% like healthcare has. Obamacare has increased 300%. Gas, maybe 50, maybe 100%. Food, maybe 40%. Nothing 300%.
Well, that's because as soon as the administrations started propping up Obamacare and started passing these laws that would give subsidies and stuff like that, what happened to the subsidies? The insurance companies decided, hey, people are getting an extra
Travel.
grand in there. That means we could probably charge at least another $800, maybe $1,200, because they're used to a certain level of pain in order to get this product. So if they get $1,000 discount, then that means we can raise our prices $1,000, and they did.
Or as my dad put it, they got another boat payment, or
They got another boat payment.
or another payment for their brand new house or their brand new trip with their mistress or whatever. And so,
But,
I mean,
I mean, this healthcare thing is kind of tough, and I mean, and Republicans are struggling with it too. Josh Hawley just made this recommendation or made this a while back. I think actually made this recommendation that the healthcare should be tax-free. Conceptually, I think that's a great idea. The problem is that when the insurers and the providers see that you're getting a 20% discount, basically, because you're not paying the tax, so you're getting a 20% discount on it, that means they can raise their prices 20%. That's what they're going to see, and that's what they'll do.
Now my question
is,
isn't medicine tax-free right now? I think medicine
is. I just go to the pharmacy and swipe the card and off we go, because it is what it is.
Sure.
But I actually don't really take any medicine. I'm not on any medication. I take some vitamin supplements, and that's about it.
Right. Well, I do know that sales tax is, I think, what they're talking about here on the foods and everything, and fresh food.
No. Josh Hawley was talking about deductible from your income tax, because that's the only thing relevant to the federal government.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would work.
And that's quite a discount, because like I said, I mean, the lowest marginal tax rate's 22%, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best thing, and we've talked about this before, is look at scenarios that work for this global healthcare. Now, what's the largest country that has a large healthcare that actually works, and what's their population size? I dare say none of them are close to 380 million.
No, and none of them work that well, and all of them rely on the fact that that almost all of the major pharmaceutical products are subsidized by the Americans.
Exactly. I mean, you look at these countries in Europe, and people want to compare us to them, or Canada. You're looking at countries that have the population of like Georgia or Texas or Florida. And we're coming into a numbers issue here, a lot of numbers, and managing 380 million healthcare plans. If all of America was on mandatory healthcare, it's not going to work.
Oh, well, if it was mandatory, they just erase all the plans and everyone gets one plan.
Which would not work.
Which would not work.
I mean, that's the reason why, once again, us being state rights kind of guys, I think having the states basically kind of like the lady from the DOE, Department of Education, what was her name? Linda McMahon. How she was saying, she saw during the government shutdown that the DOE really has no usefulness at all. If you just took all that money that the federal government already has from your taxes and just cut all and just split it up through all 50 states proportionally, might work.
And let the states manage all of that stuff.
Same thing for healthcare. Do the same thing with healthcare. We're already doing that with SNAP. With food stamps, we already do that.
Yeah.
It seems the states are handling their own thing, as long as the states, once again, like we originally said, comply with making sure only legal people and U.S. citizens are actually using it, because it's U.S. taxpayer dollars. Now, if illegals want to use it, they can get it from their own illegal money. They can have their own illegal funding, but there is no such thing.
I don't know how deeply we have to emphasize this. The more the government is involved in healthcare, the more expensive healthcare is going to get, because in government, you don't have to persuade people to buy your product. You have to convince the government that your product is going to satisfy the needs of their program. That's what it is. And how well it does it, as long as you can check off the boxes, that's all the bureaucrats care about, because no bureaucrat has ever gotten fired for choosing the wrong subcontractor or the wrong contractor.
And to further that, if you don't look at price, and if you look at quality of care, how much quality of care does any government institution give you compared to private?
Yeah, well, they don't have to. They don't have to give you good stuff, because you don't have a choice but to come to them.
Exactly. You can't fire them.
Be fired. Just think about you and your job. If at your job you can't be, you could do your job every day, and maybe you show up, and like there's just a handful of things that you could even get in trouble for. How well do you think you do your job? At the beginning, I think you do it really good. But the longer you stay in it, every time you run up against some kind of barrier, your boss tells you no,
Right.
you got to do something you don't like, you get a little more contempt, and then until one day you don't even realize that you're barely doing your job, and frankly, your job becomes like Parks and Rec on
Right.
on the TV. It becomes a real life embodiment of Parks and Rec.
Exactly. I mean, basically, your complacency kicks in very high, and the quality of care is not there when that's government controlled, and the efficiency is not there. There is no efficiency with government controlled things. The government does a lot of things really good. A few things really good.
Government is a decent referee.
It is,
Decent.
and very decent, but moderately decent. But as far as healthcare goes, I mean, the thing is, you can't, it's hard enough to see your doctor already in the private sector. If you have government doctors, you can't sue. You had to get their permission to sue them if they screw up or any kind of malpractice.
It's getting harder and harder to even see a decent doctor. My stepfather had a issue with shingles, and he couldn't get into, and it was really bad. It was into his head, and I mean,
Wow.
and it went on for months and months and months. He could barely sleep. It was awful for him, and he couldn't get in to see a neurologist for 2 months.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
he's
it's
got
private
good
healthcare.
insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's a government, you're looking at probably a year or two.
My God, if
And
ever.
exactly.
Because from the administration side, their reward isn't attaboy, all your customers love you. Your attaboy is, oh, you cut costs by how much? Oh, very nice.
They only look at the bottom line as far as it comes to dollars. They don't care about, or they don't look into the quality of care or the efficiency or the efficacy of what they're doing. And so, I mean, that being said, if you guys want the government to keep controlling your healthcare on a national level, that's ridiculous. On a state level, more realistic. However, the best idea would be a health savings plan, which I think Kennedy
Yeah.
and a few other senators are talking about in DC, and having a HSA and letting you choose your own doctor. And basically, all the federal, I mean, the government's already spending money already on the healthcare. So just take the money that they're spending and break it out to all the individuals who will be getting it instead of spending it on them. I don't know exactly how they'd break that up because, I mean, it's been
The
coming
thing
out of
is,
checks for years.
yeah, well, when you're the guy that decides whether or not the check gets written, then they got to cater to you. The doctors and their
How do you
staff.
fund
I mean,
that? How are they going to fund it? Is my question. Though. I mean, is it
an
coming out of
HSA account.
FICA? Yeah, I
An
mean,
health-
is it coming? Is it? I mean, is the federal government going to fund it from your FICA, or is it going to be funding it from your Social Security, or is it going to be funded from?
Well, this is a different plan than I've heard of. The plan I heard of is that account belongs to you. You fund that
Right.
account,
So you fund the account.
but it's tax free. It's like an IRA that you can pay medical bills with. You get a credit card with it, and you get a high deductible insurance plan.
Yeah.
And then you use the high deductible insurance plans have much lower premiums, and then you use the health savings account to pay all the money up to your premium. So, like, let's say that you got $1,000 deductible or $2,000 deductible. Well, you can contribute $2,000 to your HSA every year, but until or even more. But that money is pre-taxed money.
Right.
And it earns interest the whole time. And when you spend money out of it to pay, as long as it's to pay a legitimate medical bill or health bill, then it's still tax free. So it stays tax free the whole time.
Okay. So the money we're paying on taxes already, that's already coming out of our taxes, that goes to healthcare. I mean, is there a way of them just stopping that so that way we're going to have that money in our checks?
Yeah, you cut FICA or FICA or something like that, or FUTA or whatever.
Yeah, because having it coming out both ends is, I think, the part that a lot of people aren't wrapping their heads around. They're wondering why they're paying taxes for their future health care if they're supposed to be saving money, and how can they save money if the government keeps taking it from them?
Well, they're not supposed to be paying for their health care in any way. The government's not supposed to be.
Right. Well, it's not supposed to be, yeah. Unless you're on Medicaid or Medicare.
Medicare is an insurance policy that seniors buy.
Right. Well, okay. Well, I thought a lot of it, I'm not, I don't have much familiarity with Medicare, and I'll be glad to be openly ignorant on that. But I thought that Medicare was actually something you paid into your paycheck or something.
No, that's Social Security.
Oh, okay. So Medicare you just buy
That's
into?
SSI.
Okay. I thought Medicare was like a entitlement that everybody got. A lot of
Well,
people think that actually.
you know what? Let's just get to it. I don't actually. I mean, I'm
Let's
not up
ask
for
our
Medicare.
AI.
Yeah, we'll ask there. How is
Medicare funded. Because I
I
mean,
guess it is.
if it's coming out of both ends, I mean, basically, I think that's what Ben Carson was talking about. Stopping the Medicare withdrawals out of your checks or your Social Security or whatever is being taken out of, and returning that money back to the person so they can invest it in HSA.
Okay, so I'm not wrong. It's just the people that I know hadn't paid it, hadn't gotten themselves vested in it. And you there's a 1.45% Medicare tax out of paychecks. That's where and until you get up to a certain level of vesting, then you even if you're retired, you'll have to continue to pay premiums for Part A. Now you get into Part B, which is more stuff. Then you're paying through premiums, and then Part C is what is that one? That's the government pays the insurance on a per member monthly rate beneficiaries, Medicare Advantage Part D, and then there's drug plans and all this other crap.
And that's the kind of stuff that the government should not be in and just reimburse or give back all that money that they're taking from everybody to fund those programs and return it back to the people that they're taking it from so they can actually use that money for themselves, for their own HSAs, so trusting that the government knows what's best for them.
Yeah, that 1.45 that ought to go to an HSA and not to the federal government, because the federal government is not going to be a good steward of it.
No, it's
What the
not.
federal government does is they take that money and they say, oh, we've collected, $2 trillion for premiums and we're holding on to it, but our obligations are only 500 million. So we can take that $1.5 trillion and spend it on stuff. And then as we need money for the premiums, for the money, for the obligations, then we'll just divert that out of general fund. And it turns the whole thing into a giant Ponzi scheme.
Exactly, because I mean, basically, they're just using it for bridges to nowhere and wonderful statues and of people who nobody really cares about, and or funding programs like LGBTQ plays and Muslim, and Badulia or whatever some college thing.
I don't like recycling those talking points, because I mean those things were shocking to start with, and I hope that everyone knows them. The people that are going to believe them, I hope you believe them, because they're real.
It's true, yeah, it's real.
It's not some made up Republican talking point, but it is a talking point. I mean, it's something that after a while, if they ain't got it by now, they ain't gonna get it.
Yeah, that's very true.
They don't care to get it.
No, the people that have been hit in the head with all this obvious fallacies and abuse and waste, if they ain't got it now, they don't really give a damn.
Well, they don't care to get it, so they're absolutely not going to get it.
No.
Why would they want to subscribe to something that undermines their team?
Nobody ever wants to do that. I mean, I'm a Gator fan. I'm not really happy about the way the Florida Gators end up their football season, but I'm very excited about the basketball season coming up. And so, but yeah, you never want to pick something that undermines your team at all, unless we did pray for that coach to leave, and thank God he's gone.
Well, I don't care about football right now. We're not talking about football. We're talking about politics.
Well, I understand. I got distracted with my small mind there, but it's about teamwork and everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to see the protesting on all the campuses slow down a little bit.
There's some of these protests, I just look at them, I'm like, why on earth won't they do that here in Northwest Florida? Please bring that kind of protest to Northwest Florida.
That'd be awesome. That would be great. Or even Northeast Florida. Come over here and do it. Come on, do it in Orlando for more than like 3 hours. I mean,
it's not the protest itself. It's the violent protests. Tim Pool, I was watching Tim Pool today, and he was, showing video of some stuff, of an interview with Charlie Kirk, where he was talking about how they had been literally attacked on these campuses. And I don't mean like, someone came up and said mean things to them. It's not that kind of, snowflake violence. It's people, coming in there, tearing up all their stuff, dragging their stuff away, stealing their property right in front of law enforcement, and law enforcement just sitting there with their arms folded, just like watching them walk by. And
Exactly.
heaven forbid one of these guys go over and actually the only one person got arrested, and that was someone who was standing up to one of these thugs that was stealing his crap.
I mean, Turning Point USA, they were doing rallies after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and there was still violence happening at those rallies, and people were, throwing tear gas and everything. I mean, these were not the cops throwing tear gas; these were citizens who were angry, DSA people or Antifa people or whatever group it was, who were just anti-freedom, I guess.
I guess.
And the violence is at a high level there.
Yeah, but bring that stuff to a red state and see what happens.
Yeah, you notice that there's not too many red states where it's happening at. That goes back to the safety here in Florida. Our law enforcement, FDLE, is very, very good on that.
I'll tell you something funny. I had a little, I wouldn't call it confrontation, but I had some young protesters getting a little chippy with me, and I'm not the guy that gets into a fight. I just don't. Unless I have to defend somebody, and then then I don't even know if I'd hesitate, because I've been in a couple of situations like that before that I didn't have to take a swing at anybody, but I jumped up ready to, and they backed down.
Right.
But this kid was looking at me, and he was coming over to bow up, and his friend pulled him away and started patting on his leg, because I had some stuff in my pocket that he misidentified as a gun. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not armed. And I'm not, I didn't say it. I'm just sitting there thinking it. But, if that's what it's going to take to make this kid respectful, then, he can believe what he wants to believe.
Kids nowadays. This is where in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah. Why does me being armed? Why does it take me being armed for you to decide you want to have a respectful conversation?
I don't know. Well, I mean, how old was this kid? Like 25, 28?
Early 20s.
And this whole generation, that generation just wants to,
I don't know if it's, I mean, there's a certain amount of youthful exuberance, but this, that wasn't what was going on here. This was partisanship. He is the target that these guys are trying to inspire to go out and do something stupid.
Right. It's almost like people keep comparing Republicans to Hitlers and Adolfs and everything else, and they have no idea that, obviously they don't know how to read any kind of history books, or they just don't care. Like you said, they don't really care about being accurate at all. They just don't really understand that the whole Nazism and the fascism and everything that the left is doing by having everybody in lockstep or else is just, it's beyond pale.
Well, I hate to say it, but, another way of saying by any means necessary is the end justifies the means.
Right.
And that's always a recipe for very bad things.
It is. And to flip that around, everybody cut a deal. That's what Donald Trump and Republicans are doing right now. That's one reason probably why he did the pardon with the Honduran president, is to cut a deal with other people here to realize that, one enemy might be a bad guy, but he might not be as bad as the other person. And you have to use sometimes bad actors to go ahead and get worse actors. That's just reality and foreign policy.
Well, foreign policies, we have had that. I mean, that's been a thing forever. That's a thing in law enforcement.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, how many co-conspirators who've murdered people have we cut a deal with? I mean, we've the mafia, we've done that forever, because this guy is bad, but the guy that we're going to get as a result of him is so much worse that it's worth a little accommodation.
And that's exactly what we're seeing with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, as bad as he was still a CIA informant and a very dark ops person who was actually still getting, he's probably still getting information for the government on both sides.
I have no idea.
I'm not trying to say anything good about him.
I believe that he was doing that, but I'm not saying I don't believe that a deal was made. What I'm saying is that there are people that make these deals. First off, they're government people. So what's the quality of their deal? Well, we didn't make money on that one. The government, right. when the government program fails, they don't cut it out and stop doing it. They just double down on it. They throw more money at it.
Change the name.
And they certainly don't admit that they were wrong.
No.
Oh my God, we can't do that.
They change the name of it,
or change the name of it, do it a different way, but it's still the same old thing by under a different label. That's and what's sad is I'm not saying anything new. There's nothing that I've said so far that's new. People have been saying it since I was a small child. It's just they just don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the UFOs out there. The guys, your wonderful documentary coming out. I forgot what the name of it.
Oh, The Age of Disclosure. I already watched that. I already watched that documentary.
And I mean, I still have no idea. The jury's still out for me on if aliens are real or not, the UFOs and everything.
It's not out by lots of our senior military people. The Secretary of State was on this thing. I mean, there's lots of folks on that. That was a very interesting. My honest review of that documentary was that it was good, but it was just slow. It just dragged a lot, and it repeated a lot of stuff.
But it's also another example of how the government is doing stuff that, and a lot of people think that they knew about it for 50, 60, 70, 80 years, but just a lot of people just still don't believe. And so, I mean, because, there's so much information out there. People don't really understand where's healthcare, where's aliens, where's drug dealers in Venezuela or something like that. People are the media, and there's a little pick on the media here, has destroyed their credibility so much of what they're saying, and basically have biased everything instead of just reporting what actually is happening. I mean, people's belief factor on what they hear is dropping rapidly.
Well, I think it's starting to turn a little bit when you have the New York Times taking out, fact checking the Washington Post.
That is funny. That is funny. The Washington Post is probably doing that. I mean, actually, and I see why. I mean, Washington Post is actually moving to the right quite a bit in a lot of areas.
Well, they are, but in this case, the Washington Post was saying something negative about the Trump administration, and they got fact checked by the New York Times.
Hell has frozen over.
Hell hath frozen over for sure.
That is so weird. The New York Times actually going out of their way to defend Trump.
Well, I think I think it had less to do with defending Trump and more about taking a shot at the Washington Post.
Yeah, well, it's almost like Trump is now heralding the new director of CBS. And I mean, granted, we're not supposed to have the media and the political people friendly at all, and we get that. They're not supposed to be controlling it, but we should not have them lying their asses off either.
Well, someone needs to tell the media, because they've been cozying their butts up to the Democrats for the last 50 years.
They have. And they have thrown objectivity and the truth completely out the window.
Objectivity and truth only count if it supports their narrative.
Exactly. And when I was in journalism school, it was just the facts, man, just like Dragnet. And that's what it was. I mean, it was nothing. You can't editorialize any kind of headline or any type of quote or anything. You just quoted everything exactly. And that's the way we were taught in journalism school when I was in journalism school. Granted, this is back in the 90s. And journalism was still alive back then.
Well, all I know is, I sent you a video from CNN today.
I saw a little bit of that.
What was that?
I forgot what it was about, though.
So the headline is the 2020 election wasn't stolen, but Douglas Frank and his bogus equation claiming otherwise are still winning over audiences. And I'm like,
yeah,
what kind of objectivity is that?
No, that's a totally slanted headline altogether. I mean, that's almost clickbaity for Democrat left-wing liberals. Click it. And
I mean, it's not journalism for sure.
No, it's not. I mean, I see a lot of stories on Apple News and these other formats where the headline says one thing and nothing in the article has anything to do with the headline whatsoever. And that's the type of journalism here that we are talking about, that, people will lose their credibility on the journalist side, and the public side, they lose their faith in that very important rail of media. And journalism is very important to have a very free society. I mean, it's part of the whole freedom of speech and everything else. But you got to tell the damn truth. Doesn't mean you can just lie all you want. It just doesn't work like that. I mean, if you want to work like that, go find a land, go find a little socialist country and live there. But in a freedom world, no.
You and I can rant like this all night
Yeah, we
long.
can exactly. I think we're going to go ahead and call the ranting over. I think you guys need to go ahead and keep subscribing to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other single daggone platform that you can find a podcast on. We are going to be on,
Yeah, if there's a platform that you consume media through, we're probably there.
except for Blue Sky. We're not on Blue Sky yet.
Except for Blue Sky.
Actually, it's Reds. Yeah, those two. We're not on either one of those. Although I did look at those earlier today because some other podcasts that we were talking to, they said, "Well, you should check us out on Blue Sky." I'm like, "What's Blue Sky?" And I mean, I know what it is. It's a Democrat Twitter. But why in the hell would I ever be on that? In fact, if I even try to get on it, they'd probably kick me off within like.
Well, I was going to say there's no way for us to be on either one of those platforms.
Although we can try.
We can
see if it works, and we're going to see how long we last on Blue Sky without them doxing us, coming to our houses and protesting us.
The platform will cancel our accounts long before they ever get to that.
That's very true. It probably would. But you guys just keep enjoying, subscribing and leaving your comments. You guys have some really interesting comments. We really appreciate it. Just keep doing that, and y'all have a wonderful day. Good night, Scott.
Good night.